Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And it is honestly like the perfect segue into a part of the why. So shout out to you for that. Because you mentioned like my grandpa and like how my grandpa would like my grandpa was like the MacGyver type, y'all. Like I cannot exaggerate or whatever. So I've told y'all before, it was just like we didn't grow up going to daycare. We grew up going to grandma's house and grandpa's house. And most of the time it was grandma's house, but sometimes it was grandpa's house. And when we would go to grandpa's house, like he had us doing stuff. Like, like he was like the most, I don't want to call him eccentric, but I do want to call him eccentric, but I mean in a good way. He was a very eccentric person. Like he had you go into his basement and he had like beer cans from all over the world that he's just made a huge collection of, and a huge movie collection that just like spans the walls lining the basement. And then you go upstairs and he had this like secret staircase that led upstairs to the attic, and there was like a huge pool table and a bathroom that he built from literally nothing. um like this was a regular wall in a bathroom, and then he breaks it all out, adds plumbing, like literally himself, just going to Lowe's and Home Depot. And it's just like that. That's that's what my grandpa was on. So, tell like from your perspective, that's how I saw grandpa. Tell me what you thought about grandpa, and like tell us how he inspired passion and purpose.
Okay. Well, like you say, he was a little different. When I was growing up, it was different to the point where it was like I would always think, why was my dad a little stranger than everybody else's dad? My dad always came to the conclusion, why buy something in the store when I can just make it? That was his thing. But yeah, he was real creative. We had a two-family flat home that we lived in. My grandfather, who was blind, lived on the first floor, and we lived on the second floor. When my grandfather got older and was not able to take care of himself and do his daily needs on his own, my father decided he was going to take our two-family house and make it a open floor plan for everybody. He tore out walls, moved kitchens, moved bathrooms, built kitchens, built bathrooms, all from scratch. Put things where things weren't before. I mean, totally remodeled the whole house. And that's just the kind of thing he would do. And growing up as a kid, I always watched him and I always was fascinated by the things that he would come up with. He was just different, so different. He, as I want to say, he was an out of the box thinker, totally out the box. And I think I got a lot of that from him. And that's where passion and purpose came from. It comes from a place where in 2009, my dad was diagnosed. Sorry.
It's all right. I can always pause and edit it out too.
He was diagnosed with dementia. And he struggled for a little bit. I mean, I started watching all the little creative projects that he used to do, his little hobbies that he used to do. They became fewer and far between because they were a struggle. And for me, this was hard to watch because this was the person that I grew up admiring. And he just wasn't the person that I remembered. But that didn't diminish my love for him or nothing like that. But it helped me to understand the struggle that people who have family members with dementia, what they deal with. And I don't think a lot of people recognize that. And I just wanted to bring it to light and share my story to help others feel like they're not alone. That there are people that are in the same boat that you are that understand what you're dealing with. And it's not easy. It is not easy. And I just want to be there to recognize, support, and just support to know that they are not alone. And that's where passion and purpose came from. It's a passion of what I enjoy doing that my father passed on to me. The things that make you happy, go for it. But with that happiness, have a purpose behind it. To share that with other people and to give meaning to what you do.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And thank you for sharing that. I think when I think about stuff like that, it just reminds me of like you're saying, the importance, like learning what's actually important in life, and understanding what value actually means. And I think, when I go back to that episode that I did with Kiera, and I'm talking about value, and I'm like, value is more than money. And I think it was growing up with those experiences with people like Grandpa, where he, he built us a basketball hoop in his backyard. And when I say he built us a basketball hoop, my grandpa went to the junkyard. He went to the junkyard and he got a headboard from a bed as the wood, and he cut it out into the shape of a basketball hoop, painted it white, put the square on it. Also got a basketball. I think he bought a basketball hoop and a net and nailed it to the side of the garage so he could have a basketball hoop. And he involved us in every step of the process, from, just all the steps that went into it. So it was us having a project and working together and having those moments of quality time, and then being able to play with it. Like, that was the real joy. It wasn't that somebody went out and bought us like the nicest, most expensive basketball hoop that we may or may not even play with.
Right.
It was somebody took the time to actually teach us something and show us how to handcraft things and just take nothing
and
make something out of it. So it taught us, just what's important and what is value. And I think that's something that a lot of people are looking for these days. And even in the products that they buy, they're looking for something with a purpose.
Yes.
They're not looking for people aren't just doing things to do them anymore, because they know that everything comes at a cost of some sort. Everything comes at a cost, and if you're gonna be spending something on something, you want it to at least be worth something to you. So yeah.
And then another thing that we realized that when my wife was talking about a father with dementia and Alzheimer's patient, we also learned that other people go through the same thing, that we went through with her father. And you have aunties and sisters and brothers and cousins and grandmas and everybody's going through this. So this is the perfect time to help people that's afflicted with this, and to bring on knowledge. And maybe if you buy a candle or something like that, you could remember. We want people to remember the good times. You're gonna remember the bad times, but we want people to remember the good things, like Brissy talking about the things she remembered with her grandfather, and my wife talking about the things she remembered with her father. That's what's most important. And if we can do something, and the reason we're talking about this is because we decided that all that 10% of the proceeds of making the candles will be donated to Alzheimer's and dementia organizations or associations. So it wasn't just a retirement thing for us. It's something to give back and help people. And I think that's what makes me feel so good about it, because we are, instead of being, greedy and not helping, it's our way of saying thanks. And it's our way of giving back. And it was an agreement from my wife to me to Marcus to Rissy, and we all agreed that our work will go in there in the name of our Father and anybody else. So just remember, when you're doing something or you buying something from us, you're helping somebody, and that's what we need to do. And we're gonna thank you ahead of time for coming and looking at the website and giving us a shout out and getting on the mailing list. And that comes from our heart. If you don't even buy a candle, just make sure you get on our mailing list and look and read the story, and let's help each other out.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people. What I've found going through this with my dad, it's a lot of people that are affected by this, but it's I don't know if it's a stigma that you would say, but nobody that's dealing with it talks about it. You would never know a lot of people are going through the same thing you're going through, but or for some reason are ashamed to talk about it. And that really surprised me, because even with my father, I had a coworker, and her mother, she was going through the same thing with her mother. And we never knew that about each other. We had that in common, where we could lean on each other, share experiences, even problems that we were going through. It's like, okay, you can talk to somebody and say, how do you deal with it? And you could bounce it off where maybe you feeling frustrated and you just can't deal anymore. You have somebody that you can talk to that can relate to what you are going through. And for some reason, I don't know why, but people don't share their stories. And it's like, you don't have to be ashamed. Other people are dealing with the same thing, but just don't talk about it. And why suffer in silence when you can have a network of people that can help you through? Because it's a difficult struggle. I cannot even lie. It is difficult. But with a support system, you can get through it.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's where this collaboration, in a sense, comes into place, because it only makes sense when we have a platform, because that's exactly what we want to destigmatize here. Because what I've come to find just in this journey is that there are a lot of people going through a lot of things, and they don't talk about them because they feel like they're the only ones, and that people just won't understand what it is that they're going through. And it's just like, sometimes when you feel like that black sheep in the world, where nobody really understands you, understands what you're going through, the thing that you really need, instead of being quiet and not talking about what it is that you're going through, is to actually take that risk and say something. Because you might find is somebody out there that actually understands you and what you are going through and can get you the help that you need. And like, that's what this is about. It's about getting people connected to the right thing. One, just opening up a platform where we can talk about all of these different things in an authentic and yet vulnerable way, because that's what we need. A lot of people think that sometimes not being able to be vulnerable is strength. But, it takes a lot more strength to be able to actually tell somebody what's going on. And that's the thing that's going to get you that help that you need
Yes.
and put you in contact with the right resources. So we've created a place that makes it okay to talk about what you're going through. Well, it's okay to talk about these different things in life, because at the end of the day, we all going through it.
Exactly.
Whether it be taking care of loved ones who, have different illnesses and ailments, or dealing with your own mental health issues, or just trying to figure out life, career changes, and getting older and having to change phases of life and thought processes, moving away from home, all kinds of things. Like, it's a lot of things that we could talk about.
It's a lot.
You know what I'm saying? And even like jumping out on faith, because like, for instance, and honestly, you never know who you're going to inspire by taking those leaps too.